taking a look inside Kansas politics. Welcome in, I'm Rebecca Chung. It's the race to 2024. Democrats and Republicans are getting ready for the presidential election year, and it's promising big changes for Kansas. Joining me today is the chair of the Kansas Democratic Party, Gina Repass. Gina, thank you for joining us.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm happy to be here.
Of course. Well, we have a lot to talk about coming out of this year's legislative session. One of the topics we want to touch on is the presidential preference primary. Now, that's coming up March 19th to narrow down the list of presidential hopefuls next year. This is a process usually run and paid for by state political parties, but lawmakers and the governor signed off on a plan to open up that process to a statewide vote, also shifting the cost to taxpayers. We spoke with the Secretary of State, Scott Schwab, about the upcoming primary. Here's what he had to say. Is it worth the cost, do you think?
I still think because whoever wins this presidential primary may not even be on the ballot in November, I don't think it's a good use of resources when, we got highway capacity issues on K-10. We have K-12 always asking for more money. We have issues with higher ed. We're still trying to increase workforce development. Now we're going to have an election that may not even matter come November. Personally, I think there's better resources, but I wasn't, the legislature saw something perhaps we didn't see.
Now, the primary is expected to cost about $5 million, according to the Secretary of State's office. This primary did gain bipartisan support in both chambers. Still, there were concerns raised about how much this could cost taxpayers. So, Gina, what are your thoughts on the upcoming primary and the cost? Republicans will be participating, but you mentioned that this is something the Democratic Party will also take up.
We absolutely will, and it helps us to go from a caucus to a primary, which gets more votes and more voices involved in the process. And I think that's really important when you're talking about something as important as picking the president. And so that cost, I think, is going to be shared by all taxpayers, but Democrats are taxpayers too, and it gives us the ability to have our voices heard.
Do you think it's money that could have been used for a better purpose? I know there were arguments made that perhaps we shouldn't be, giving money to state Democratic Party or, the Republican Party to weigh in on this primary. So what would you say to people who are concerned about where these taxpayer dollars are going? Well,
I would say there's no greater purpose than voting. Your vote is your voice, and every Kansan deserves to have their voice, especially in something as important as picking the next president. And as I said before, Democrats pay taxes too. That money's not going to the state party. It's going to go to execute a primary while we all get to put our voice into who's going to be our next president.
Now, there were several bipartisan laws that passed this session, but there were some that also had some issues where Republicans and Democrats were clashing. That includes the education budget. The governor signed the bill, but she vetoed one section that would have changed how schools could get money based on enrollment numbers. Republican leaders argued that this was unconstitutional since the bill isn't an appropriations bill, but it includes some policy aspects. What's your take on the budget plan that the legislature passed this year?
Well, I think we're extremely fortunate to have Governor Laura Kelly. She has been a fierce advocate for the last 5 years for public education. She believes in our fully funded public schools, and I think she did the absolute right thing. We don't want to take away money from our local schools, and that's what the part of the bill is that she vetoed.
Okay. And it's not just local schools here, but also rural school districts. I know that's been an ongoing debate about taking money away from rural school districts. Could you tell me where you stand on that?
Absolutely. What people don't tend to understand is that rural schools are not just about education. It's an economic issue for those communities. Those schools not only employ the teachers and the staff, but you're talking about custodial staff and people who work in the lunchroom, people who do maintenance around the school. So in our rural communities specifically, yes, we're educating those young people, but we're also an economic driver for those communities. So we fully support making sure that they have all the funding that they need.
Now, I know an education savings account proposal came up this year, so school choice legislation has been another hot topic for Republicans. Are you expecting that to come up next year, and then how do you plan to navigate that?
Well, we are going to let Republicans do whatever they feel like is in the best interest for themselves and their constituents. What we are going to do is be very public, hold them accountable for their votes. They need to be listening to their constituency, and I believe Kansans have spoken very loudly. They want fully funded, free public education.
Okay, now really quick, taxes were also a controversial topic this year. Democrats mainly taking issue with a Republican tax package which included a flat single rate income tax of 5.15%. Now, we ran the numbers on their initial plan, and it does save Kansans money at every income level, even if it's just about $1 for some. The tax package would have also sped up the elimination of the state's food sales tax, dropping it to zero next year, but the governor vetoed the plan. Republicans arguably, I would say, made some concessions concessions to bring the tax up to 5.15% from the initial proposal, which was 4.75%. So why was this an issue that Democrats decided not to compromise on this year?
Well, let's be clear. The governor would like to axe the food tax just completely and as a standalone bill on behalf of working families in Kansas. And she's tried to do that several times. So them throwing that into that bill was just one more way that they were trying to play politics with something that's going to hurt working class families. But in terms of the flat tax, even if it saved everyone just $1, it disproportionately gives a savings to the wealthiest Kansans. And we believe everyone should be paying in at a fair and equal rate.
All right, when we come back, we're going to talk about top priorities for Democrats heading into 2024. Stay with us. You're watching Inside Kansas Politics.
Staging is an important part of selling your home. We'll help you do both.
We are your dream home professionals with Better Homes and Gardens Real Estate, Wastel Realty.
Call us today.
Enjoy displayed military equipment, battle reenactments, band concerts, pancakes, and free admission to the museum. Enjoy it all at Heartland Military Day, Saturday, June 10th at the Museum of the Kansas National Guard, Forbes Field, Topeka.
It's Memorial Day madness at the Mattress Hub, and now's the time to save big.
All the best brands in sleep up to $1,000 off with hot buys from $299. Or instant savings with Tempur-Pedic or Purple mattress and no interest financing for up to 60 months. Only at the Mattress Hub.
Show your dad how much he means to you by entering the Father's Day sweepstakes. Go to KSNT.com and enter for a chance to win a gift package valued at $225. Sponsored by Ace Plumbing, Kansas 811, and La Rocca's Pizza.
27 KSNT is working with harvesters to help feed families in need. We'll be collecting these food items at 2 Dillon's locations in Topeka and at our TV station from 8 a.m. to 6:30 p.m. Thank you for your support.
I like that. It's a nice way to start our Monday.
Monday, Adrian Brody from Asteroid City, plus Dominique Fishback.
Monday morning at 11 on 27 KSNT. The Storm Track WeatherCam Network on 27 News. More cameras covering your community. Providing a live, exclusive look at weather as it rolls across northeast Kansas.
We're watching the storms building in from the south and southwest.
Working for you to provide advance warning of changing conditions. The Storm Track WeatherCam Network. Available live to you anytime, online and on the 27 News mobile app. Sponsored by Prairie Band Casino and Resort. 27 News, working for you.
Welcome back to Inside Kansas Politics. I'm Rebecca Chung, continuing our conversation with Gina Repass, chair of the Kansas Democratic Party. Gina, let's talk about priorities for next year. There were some issues that the legislature didn't get to this year. One of the most notable, I would say, is medical marijuana reform. Republicans tabled that this year. Now it's likely that it won't be taken up until after 2024. So medical marijuana reform has been pushed by Democrats in the past. What are they expecting now heading into next year's legislative session, where the future of this bill is uncertain?
Well, what we're expecting is a whole lot of more obstructionism from the Republican Party, and I'm sad to say that because we believe that this is an issue of justice and mercy. We're talking about medicinal marijuana, something that will help give relief to people with cancer, children who suffer from seizure disorders. We've all heard heartbreaking and compelling stories where people are trying to provide for their loved ones, and in doing that, they become felons. So what we expect is Republicans to, unfortunately, stand in the way of a justice and mercy issue that's about a 78% issue here in Kansas in favor of. But that's what we're expecting.
Now, this is an issue we see brought up almost every year at the state capitol. People rally, they come out, they advocate with legislators. However, we're not seeing any action. Why do you think Republicans are hesitant to take something like this up?
Well, let me be clear. Not all Republicans are hesitant. There are a few, and unfortunately there are a few who have power, and they have the power to take a minority view and force it on the majority. But we're going to keep chipping away. I think we must ask people to continue to put pressure on their legislators. These are the people who we've hired to represent us. And if it's not representing you, you need to get on the phone. You need to get in the email and then come to the Capitol. Make sure your voices are heard. That's what we can do. So
this is an issue that Democrats will most likely push for again next year, but will we see any action?
My short answer is we don't know. We can be hopeful. And yes, Democrats are going to continue to push forward mercy and justice issues on behalf of the people of Kansas. But we're also looking forward to an opportunity where we can have a stronger voice in that.
Now, speaking of no action, let's talk Medicaid expansion. That's also something we see come up every year. Heading into next year, thousands of Kansans are expected to lose coverage now that pandemic restrictions have been lifted. How do you think this will change how lawmakers approach the issue next year?
Well, I can tell you for Democrats, it's not going to change a thing. We're going to be just as vociferous in trying to push forward to make sure that every Kansan has the opportunity to participate in our healthcare system. There are so many people. I actually have a personal story. My daughter fell in the gap between making too much money to get a broad coverage and not enough money to go into the healthcare exchange. So her father and I had to supplement her until her medical school coverage kicked in. And she's not unique, she's not alone, and it's ridiculous that states around us are participating in the billions of dollars that could be coming into Kansas. And if I may, I was in Montgomery County in Independence talking to a group of people, all of whom were so upset about Medicaid expansion. Many of them had been born at Mercy Hospital there, shut down because they don't have enough funding. Medicaid expansion would fix that.
But is it also falling on deaf ears? I know that this is something, again, that Democrats push for every year, but no action from Republicans. Do you think there's desire on that side to see action taken for Medicaid expansion?
Well, here's where I'm going to break a little bit and say, yes, I do. I know that there are Republicans who want Medicaid expansion. We've actually had it where it was bipartisan before and it got vetoed, and now we're back here, and there's just a very, again, small minority of people who are standing in the way. The majority of Republicans understand this is good for the state, and they want it too. They're going to have to deal with their own caucus and their own leadership about what we're going to be able to do to represent what all Kansans want. As far as Democrats go, we're going to continue to push.
If it comes down to having to compromise on either of those issues, Medicaid expansion, marijuana, is that something that the Democrats will compromise on?
I just don't know how we can. When you're talking about an issue of mercy and justice with people's health care and to give them relief if they have terminal illness, or we're talking about making sure that people can participate in health care, I don't know where the compromise line is there. What we're doing right now, currently, is just telling people to suffer or go without. So no, Democrats don't have a line to compromise there.
Now, after last year's election, Democrats are closing the gap on the Republican supermajority in the House. What changes can we expect in how the party approaches next year's election?
You're going to see a fight. You are going to see us taking it to the people of Kansas. I believe in Kansas. I was the Secretary of State nominee for the Democratic Party, and in that role, I got to travel the state. I got to meet my neighbors. I got to see Kansans of every ilk, and I got to see them in every part of the state. We all want the same things. So Democrats are just going to take that message to the people of Kansas. And I believe that we are not only making headway and but we're going to make some really big strides in 24.
All right, coming up, a controversial leadership change proposal could signal rising tensions in the Republican Party ahead of 2024. Now, Democrats are weighing in. We'll be right back. You're watching Inside Kansas Politics.
The value at Success Vision is incredible.
The prices are really good because they make them here in the store.
By far the easiest way to buy glasses.
I mean, we're talking designer frames, high-end quality.
I bought 2 pairs of glasses and I got them the same day.
I didn't have to wait to see the eye doctor next door.
All of the lens upgrades and the latest technologies. I was really impressed.
Only at Success Vision.
2 pairs for $39 in an hour for less. Come see us today, Success Vision Express.
Looks like you've been sleeping well.
Megan, he's back. The My Pillow guy.
And you're looking good.
Still feeling good.
Well, just when you thought it couldn't get any better, we've got the best pillow ever, My Pillow 2.0. When I invented My Pillow, it had everything you'd ever want in a pillow. Well, now there's new technology that makes it even better. My Pillow 2.0 has my patented fill combined with a cooling fabric with temperature regulating thread. My Pillow 2.0 is truly the next generation of My Pillow.
The best sleep just got even better. Whether you have a My Pillow or not, you need to get the brand new My Pillow 2.0. Call or go to mypillow.com now. Use your promo code, and for a limited time when you buy one, you'll get a second one absolutely free.
You're sleeping even better.
And cooler, too.
And you're looking good.
Feeling good.
I knew you would.
Visit mypillow.com.
I'm Father Tim Haberkorn, and I'm here to invite you to our annual German Fest celebration, June 3rd and 4th, on the Sacred Heart Church grounds. Come celebrate with friends and family while you enjoy all the authentic German food you love. There's also a beer garden, live music with the Chardon Polka Band, and lots of kids' activities. plus drawings for cash prizes. Don't miss out on great entertainment, fun, and delicious food. Join us for German Fest.
Welcome back to Inside Kansas Politics. I'm Rebecca Chung. We're shifting now to a GOP rule change proposal that drew national attention last month. Republican Party members blasting the chair for suggesting a change that could have potentially ousted Black and Hispanic leaders in the party. Kansas Democratic Party Chair Gina Repass is here now to give her take. Gina, now that you're weighing in, what's your take on the proposal from the Republican Party?
Well, let me start by saying I will let the Republican Party do what they feel like is best for their party, what represents them best. But what I can say is that I don't think it's ever good for democracy. I feel like, quite frankly, it's un-American to limit voices. And what I can speak to with authority is where we are as Democrats. The Democratic Party has 14 different caucuses representing lots of different viewpoints, from the LGBTQ caucus to the Labor caucus to the Farm caucus to veterans. We also have a Hispanic caucus, African American caucus, AAPI, and then a youth caucus. So we believe that every voice matters, including in leadership decisions. So that's why those caucuses have a voice with us. They're also a part of our leadership team. And I will say we are a big tent party, and the only cost of admission to the Democratic ticket is to believe in democracy and a belief in all human dignity.
Now, we also have a statement from the Kansas Black Republican Council at the height of when this was being considered. Let's take a look. The statement reads, "We're deeply disappointed in the decision to eliminate Black leadership representation from the Kansas GOP and trust that state delegates reject this action and commit to unifying and strengthening the party. We won't be discouraged by this short-sighted decision. Instead, we will continue promoting true Republican Kansas values through a spirit of unity." Unity is the key word here. Still, the proposal stirred a lot of controversy early on. How do you think this will impact the upcoming election season?
Well, what I hope it does is it says to Republicans who are moderate and who believe that every voice should be heard that you're welcome to come over and join the Democratic Party, because we welcome your voice. We have no desire to shut anyone out. There's lots of room all across the spectrum in the Democratic Party. But in terms of what they're going to do, I hope that every Republican uses their voice and speaks out and makes sure that they are being heard. That's important in this democracy. It's important in Kansas.
So what you're saying is that they have an open invitation now after this rule change proposal.
There is room for everyone under our big tent. And I will reiterate, all we care about is that you believe in democracy and you have respect for human dignity. But we'd welcome those voices. Come join the Democrats. We're here. We're open. We're not limiting who's at our table.
Now, how do you think this proposal and this year's legislative session, some of the things that we saw brought up, could impact the Democratic Party's game plan for next year? Not at all. Our plan is just to take our message to the people of Kansas, make sure that we are speaking into their values. We understand we are the party of values. The initiative that we had voted on last year in August showed that. Democrats were in the forefront of that, and we believe that we are standing on the right side of issues and values for Kansans. Were there any issues in particular that came up this year that really stood out to you as something that could really shape next year's election? Well, absolutely. I think the fact that the Vote No initiative won so overwhelmingly, but we still had 21 abortion bills that were introduced by Republicans, and many of them didn't get out of committee, but they were reintroduced. And I think that just says that there are some in the Republican legislature who are out of step with what Kansans want. Democrats, on their hand, are fighting to fully fund public education. Our governor has been trying to axe the food tax, and we believe in Medicaid expansion. So I believe that we're on the high ground here. Okay, now coming up, Democrats are making some changes inside their own party. Gina is sharing her vision for next year. We'll be right back. You're watching Inside Kansas Politics.
Car wrecks don't just happen from 9 to 5. If you're in a wreck, we're available 24/7.
Don't wait until tomorrow to get the help you need now. In a wreck, need a check?
Patterson Legal is the way to go. Call 431-0000.
We got big news, right, Ruggles? The puppies are here. They're everywhere. So are our red tags. The Floor Project's red tag sale is going on now. Red tag savings on carpet, including Mohawk Smart Strand, hardwood, luxury vinyl, plus installation is half price on our best-selling waterproof floors. Free financing too, and save more with the red tags.
Get into the Floor Project.
They're quick learners. Smart savings starts here.
From building vital infrastructure to creating family-sustaining careers for the working class. See the real-world contributions that union carpenters and contractors make in our communities. Built to last. Saturdays at 5 on 27 KSNT.
We are Morgan and McKinsey. Not every realtor is the same, and neither is every real estate team. We pride ourselves in going above and beyond for our clients every step of the way.
Car wrecks don't just happen from 9 to 5. If you're in a wreck, we're available 24/7.
Don't wait until tomorrow to get the help you need now. In a wreck, need a check?
Patterson Legal is the way to go. Call 431-0000.
Welcome back to Inside Kansas Politics. I'm Rebecca Chung. We're looking ahead into what the Democratic Party will look like in 2024 and years to come. Gina, how do you envision the party now that you're stepping into this new role?
Well, I envision it growing. I envision us being a party that stands on our values, and part of that, as I've mentioned before, is that we are a big tent, and we're going to just keep expanding that tent. One of the things that happened when I became the chair is that I had the privilege of running for this position against our former state treasurer and lieutenant governor, Lynn Rogers, and what was great about that is that so many Democrats got to lend their voices to who they wanted to lead the party. Lynn's an elder statesman, a friend, and a gentleman, but what we came out of that understanding is that there's a demand for us to grow, and to grow in new and different and innovative ways, and I believe that's why I've been chosen to lead the party, and that's the plan. We want to make sure young voices are at the table. Again, we have caucuses that represent multiple voices, but we also want to make sure that we are supporting our governor. We believe in her vision. She's a fiscal hawk. She's taken us from the brink of disaster where we were funding our schools from KDOT, and she's closed that loop, and now we believe that we can stand and do great things. If you look at what Democrats have done under the leadership of Governor Kelly and Lieutenant Governor Tolan, who's also our Secretary of Commerce, with the new plant that's going into DeSoto, there's so much economic growth. So what we want to do is mirror that at the party level and bring in growth and bring in new people. Young voices are very important to us, and so we're going to be doing a lot of outreach there. But we also believe that there are some moderate Republicans who are not happy with the direction of their party. And listen, we all get disenfranchised sometimes. I get it. I'm not always going to make everyone happy. But we believe that we are a place where the moderate voices can land, to have an impact, to feel welcomed, and to do what we all believe is best for Kansas, which is to make sure we have a future for our kids, that we can be friends and neighbors. We can agree to disagree agreeably if that's what the case is. But that's my vision, is that we're going to continue to grow the party. Our hand is extended. We are open and welcome if someone would like to join us.
Now, this idea of targeting moderate Republicans, or even maybe, or moderate voters, how do you think this past year has kind of maybe given you a leg up in that regard?
Well, exactly what I spoke to before. You know, Kansans overwhelmingly said, look, we believe in freedom and autonomy, and we voted down that horrible amendment. And yet then we still had voices on the other side who were still trying to put abortion amendments on there. We want to say, okay, we hear you, Kansas. We will stand with you on freedom. What else do you need us to do? What else matters to you? Schools matter to them. Medicaid expansion matters. Medical marijuana matters. School safety is another issue that matters. And these are all things, and economic growth. That matters to Kansans. So these are all things that have encouraged us this year. If you poll many of those issues, they are greater than 60% issues. And so if more than 60% of Kansans are saying, hey, these are the things that we value and we want, but then you've got the Republican Party voting against those things, we're here to say, come join us. We hear you, we're going to advocate for you, and we believe that together we can make these changes for you.
Okay. I know you mentioned restructuring. What does that look like for the Democratic Party?
It looks like a lot of work for the chairs.
Okay. A lot of time.
It is a lot of time. No, actually, we're in a wonderful process, and I'm very excited about it. I'm exhausted on it, but I'm energized at the same time. We're searching for new staff. We're putting in structure that we believe will help us as we gear up for 2024. It's people matter, and having the right people in the right places. That's what I'm focused on right now, making sure that we're looking for great, talented voices to add to our structure and our leadership. Again, we're growing by addition, and that's what we're working on right now, so that when we roll into the 2024 cycle, we're going to be full steam ahead, group of talented people who are looking to help us make a difference.
Okay, now what are some of the key changes you would say that you're hoping to make heading into next year, but maybe even years to come?
Well, first and foremost, we want to get a head start. I just speak about myself. I got into the Secretary of State race very, very late, ran a very tough campaign, but what I understand is the bigger head start, the bigger lead time you have, the better off you are, the more opportunities you have to talk to people, get your messaging out, do fundraising, and more than anything, hear back from the people of Kansas. And so that's what we're going to do. The number one thing we're going to do is get a big head start on that. I'm not going to say too much. I will just say this: we're not going to get caught off guard, and we are going to be well prepared with great candidates for the 2024 cycle.
There's a lot of preparation in that. So I'm assuming that you're also going to be expanding the Democratic Party's team and the members that you have currently, right?
Absolutely, absolutely. And we are so privileged. Our Senate Minority Leader, Dinah Sykes, and our House Minority Leader, Vic Miller, are great partners. And we are working with them along with the governor to make sure that we are recruiting great candidates, that we are expanding who gets to bring their voices to the table. We are so fortunate in Kansas that we do have at least one Democrat representing us in Washington, Great Sharice Davids. We want to protect her seat. So we're going to be protecting seats up and down the ballot, but also expanding. And we're going to work really hard with our new staff to do that.
We talked about Sharice Davids. She did win re-election. Is this something that we can expect in the future as well? And what exactly is the Democratic Party's tactics? What sort of strategy would they be using to defend the current seats that they hold?
Well, I think one of the things that we're going to do here in Kansas is something I'd like to see Democrats nationally do better, which is tell our story. We are on the side of the American people. We're definitely on the side of the people of Kansas. And we're going to tell that story, and we're going to tell it to our friends, we're going to tell it to our neighbors, we're going to tell it to people who we don't normally talk to. Because I believe once they know that we are the party that stands with them and the things they value and care about, we're going to get more people involved, and we're going to get people to get out and vote. That's the other thing. Voting is your voice, and we are going to get everyone's voice heard the best that we possibly can. So we're going to get out ahead of that.
All right, and we'll also be inviting the Kansas Republican Party on as well to give their take on the upcoming election year. But for now, that was your look inside Kansas politics. If you want to keep up to date on all things Kansas politics, then follow us on social media. Follow us on Twitter at @InKansasPolitics and on Facebook. Just search Inside Kansas Politics. We'll also post the full video on YouTube. Just search KSNT News and check ksnt.com/inside-kansas-politics for past episodes. If you have a story you want Kansas State legislators to hear or topics you think we should cover, let us know. We'll see you here same time, same place.